Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Rabbi.
We are learning Mishnah's Kesubos, Perek Ches, Mishnah Vav. We're going to finish it up today. Let's quickly read from the beginning. Shemeres Yavim Shenaflo Nechasim, a woman waiting for Yibum, that properties fell to her. Maidim Beishamah Beisilo Shemaycheres V'Naisenes V'Kayim. Both Beishamah and Beisilo agree that at that stage she's allowed to go in and sell it, give it away, and whatever she does stands. Mesa, what if this Shemeres Yavim dies? Mayasa b'ksubasa, what do they do with her ksuba? And with the properties that go in and come out with her. That means whatever is given to her in the ksuba, which typically if she dies, her husband inherits or holds on to everything that was supposed to go to her in her ksuba. And what we call the nichsei malug, the property she brings into the marriage, that he has usage of them. If he dies, he inherits them. But this case, she's not married to the Yavim yet. She's just waiting for Yibum. So what's the halacha there? So Beis Shammai say regarding the last case of the Nichsei Maluk, of the properties that belong to her but he uses. Yachleku Yarshei Habal and Yarshei Ha'av. The heirs of the husband and the heirs of the father divide it. According to Beis Shammai, we have a question. Beis Shammai has a doubt. A woman in this state of waiting for Yibum, is she considered like she's married already to a brother-in-law, and therefore he would inherit her, or not? And because he has that doubt, at the end of the day, practically speaking, they split it. This Beis Shammai was only discussing the last case of the Nichsei Malug. Beis Hillel and Beis Hillel say, this is what we're up to. This is what we got up to. Now we're up to what Beis Hillel says about this whole situation. So the first thing he says is, Nechasim b'cheskasim. Their properties remain in their original status. This is a very unclear statement. Like, first of all, what nechasim is he talking about? What properties is he talking about? And b'cheskasim, they're in their status. They're in their original status. So what does original status mean? By her, by him, what does it mean? So let's explain it. Nechasim, first of all, means, in this case, what we call the nechsei tzoin barzel. The properties that she brought into the marriage, where we say, where the deal there is that, again, he's going to use them as he likes. But at the end of the day, he is responsible for them. He has to return to her their original value. They evaluate those properties at the beginning of the marriage, and if the marriage terminates because he dies or he divorces her, he has to make sure to give her back the original price, which means original value, which means if they go down in value, too bad on him. He promised the full original value. If they go up in price, it's his gain, because all he has to return to his original value. That's Nechsei Tzoin Barzel. That's the kind of properties we're talking about right now. So now she dies. If she would be married, fully married, then those properties would automatically go to the husband. Now the question is, what state do those properties have now that she's waiting for Yibum? So Beis Hillel say those properties remain in their original status. But Beis Hillel doesn't tell us which original status. There's two ways of looking at original status here. We can look at original status as that those properties that, again, he was responsible for their original value. Because he's responsible for them, no matter what happens to them, he's like the owner. Typically, when you own something, you have to bear, you bear all losses and you take all gains. And if that's what's happened with these properties, we should see him as the owner of those properties. Now, him, in this case, means the brother who died. And therefore now, the Yavim, who is the heir of the brother, he would now he would now get those properties because it was by his brother. It was in his brother's ownership. The original status was it was considered his brother's, and now if it was the brother's and she died, she never had them. It's not considered she had them. The brother had them. So the heir of the brother, which was the brother-in-law waiting to do Yibum, he now would get those properties because he is the heir of his brother. And they wouldn't belong to her, they belong to his brother. Or maybe we should say no. Maybe we should say that being that she brought them into the marriage, that therefore they're considered hers. He may be able to use them, he may be responsible for them, but she brought them into the marriage, they're considered hers, and therefore when she dies, it was by her, it was under her ownership. The status was she was the one who had them, and therefore her heirs are now going to be the ones to inherit her when she dies. The thing is that so, but Beis Hillel doesn't tell us which way to go. And therefore, practically speaking, what happens to those properties, even according to Beis Hillel, is You divide them. Now, the next thing is Ukasuba becheskas yarshei habal, and the ksuba remains under the previous status of the heirs of the husband. The ksuba becheskas yarshei habal means the ksuba remains under the previous status belonging to the husband's heirs. Now here we're talking about the money, right? The money that a man promises his wife if he dies to take from the estate, or if he divorces her, 200 ksuba, 200 zuz if she's a psula, if she's a virgin, 100 if she was if she was already married before. So now, if a husband, meaning a full-fledged husband, if his wife dies before him, there's nothing to do, right? He doesn't have to give her anything. Right? She doesn't acquire, and she has no rights to this money until he dies or divorces her. But she died first, which means that the money stays by the original owner, which is in that case the husband, which in this case means the heirs of the husband. Okay, so that's what it means. Ksuba b'cheskes yarshei habal, and the ksuba remains under the original status of the heirs of the husband. Now, as I said before, Beis Shammai did not discuss this part. Beis Shammai only discussed the last case of the nichsei malug, the properties that she owns and that he uses. Properties that, if he were to die, she takes those properties for herself. When she dies, the husband is the heir. But here we're talking about a woman who's waiting for yibum. So Beis Shammai already told us, what do you do with those? You divide it. What about, that was he said. Beis Hillel didn't discuss that yet. Beis Hillel discussed the nichsei tzoin barzel, those properties that he's responsible for, and the ksuba money. And Beis Hillel told us, what he holds about that. And the commentaries point out, Beis Shammai agree with him in that. There's no argument in that. When it comes to those properties that he's responsible for, Beis Shammai agree, you divide, Beis Shammai at the end of the day would say that they remain in whoever's chazakah they were in. And again, there's a doubt about that. So therefore, they're going to, at the end of the day, whatever Beis Hillel meant, Beis Shammai meant, Beis Shammai agrees to him regarding that. And regarding the money, of the ksuba money that it's supposed to pay, he also agrees. But now is where we're going to see Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel argue. The properties that enter and go out with her, those are the nichsei malug. Those are the properties he's not responsible for their original value in any way. Those are properties that she brings into the marriage. He can use it. He has the usage. He has the fruits, so we say. He has the usage of the property. And at the end, if the marriage terminates, he dies or he divorces her, she just takes them back. If by a regular marriage, the halacha is full-fledged marriage, that if she dies before him, he inherits those properties. They become completely his. Now the question is, what about by this case where the woman is waiting for yibum? Beis Hillel say those properties are becheskes yarshei ha'av. They're under the original status of the heirs of the father, meaning those properties we see, who is the owner of those properties? In whose hold were they? Hers, because they belong to her. He may have the usage of them, but she was the owner of those properties. So those properties were always by her. So now, when it comes out that she died while she was waiting for yibum, and Beis Hillel say, this is the point. And Beis Hillel say that a yavim is not like a husband. The properties regarding a woman waiting for yibum, those properties he's not considered the brother-in-law. He's not considered like they're married regarding those things. If he will be considered married regarding those things, then when she dies, he inherits it. Beis Hillel say, but it's not that way. He's not considered like a full-fledged husband. And therefore, those properties always remained, those properties, if he'd be a full-fledged husband, he'd inherit them because that's the rights of a husband. But he's not a husband. And therefore, the properties were hers, and when she dies, her heirs are the ones who take it. That's Beis Hillel. Beis Shammai said before, they got to split it, because Beis Shammai has a doubt. Beis Shammai has a doubt when you have the situation of a woman waiting for yibum. Yibum hasn't been done yet, but there's a connection for yibum. Beis Shammai say he has a doubt. Maybe in that state, the yavim, the brother-in-law waiting to do yibum, actually has the status of a husband regarding her properties. And therefore, he would be the one to inherit it. But maybe not. Maybe he doesn't have those rights of a husband, and therefore those properties are still would remain by the heirs of the woman, because as a doubt. Therefore, he said yachloiku. They split it. But this is where Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel differ. When the woman waiting for Yibam dies, they differ regarding the nechsei malug, the properties that she owns but he uses, and she died first. According to Beis Hillel, her heirs get it. The Yavam has no connection to it whatsoever. Beis Shammai says he has a doubt. Maybe the Yavam, the brother-in-law waiting to do Yibam, is considered like her husband regarding these things, and therefore he would be the heir, and maybe not. And therefore he says they divide it.
What happens if she doesn't have any ears?
Down the line, there's got to be someone. Typically. Down the line, someone. All right. Now, the Chofetz Chaim had said that, okay, so he says, all right, this is something that, again, we're talking about what you're allowed to go ahead and say to the prospective young, no, I'm sorry, back up. Here we're talking about already the shidduch happened, the match was made, they agreed to get married. But now things are coming out, but now you know things about the other side that one side doesn't know. Well, there are times you'd be actually permitted to reveal, meaning even after the shidduch was made, you know that the girl has some kind of an inner sickness that people don't know about, and the chassan doesn't know. Now, when you're dealing with this young woman having a sickness, right? That could be a very serious issue. So, again, you got to make sure that all the conditions mentioned before are met, which means you got to really know, first of all, is it a real problem? What kind of problem it is? And are they going to listen, etc. What if you don't know? You just heard others. Others say such a thing. Others told you that. You're not allowed to reveal it to him if you surmise that the chassan will not act properly, regard and break up the shidduch. Just that you're letting him know that he should investigate. Meaning, you heard it from somebody else, right? And you're telling him, this is what I've heard. Now, because of that, he's going to break off the shidduch. He doesn't have a right to break off the shidduch like that, just because he heard it from you. So if you know he's going to do that, then you're not allowed to tell him. However, if he'll take it as getting this information and now investigating himself into it to see what's going on, and that's what he's going to do, that's the proper thing to do, then you'd be allowed to tell him. But again, all the conditions mentioned before have to be met. Have a wonderful day. Good to Thank
you, Rabbi.
Okay.